You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Godzilla's 3-week ending Open America Tour for live in the beautiful city of Warrenton, although it's closed. State Senator Jill Vogel. Also with us is Mike Forston. He's the owner of Old Town Athletic Club here in Warrenton. Chris Concannon. Hey, Chris, who got laid off at his job at an appliance store. He was an installer, and now he started this huge Facebook group here, Open Fucker County, and he's got 900 members, and they're doing rallies. They got a big event coming up on Memorial Day, and he's been cited for civil disobedience, which I think now we're done with it. We just have to stop these tyrannical politicians from destroying our lives, because if we don't rise up now and take our life back, this is only going to get worse. Joe Vogel with us. Let's get to...
We're glad you're in Warrenton.
I love Warrenton.
Warrenton, Fauquier County is a beautiful place.
I'm so glad that it's closed.
Amazing people.
You're
we're
very nice.
Beautiful agricultural county, but we also have a lot of businesses. And as you're hearing from our folks, very eager to go back to work. And I know Mike is here, and he's been communicating with me a lot about his desire to open the Old Town Athletic Club. And it's kind of a mainstay of downtown and a major place of congregation, and he's been very careful. And I've been incredibly impressed with what he is willing to do to get back in business with big tents outside. He is going to follow the letter of the law and move forward, as many people intend to do and have communicated with me, because they want to be absolutely sure that when they start, that they won't cross a line and then find themselves shut down or in trouble. Because I do think that's causing a tremendous amount of anxiety for people who don't fully understand what the executive orders mean and how they apply to them. So, of course, they reach out to their legislator and say, here are my 50 questions. That would be me. And we spend all day, 100% of our time, trying to do our best to help everybody and answer those questions and try to make them feel comfortable and help them understand that there are ways to do this that still comply with the governor's executive orders. And, I mean, people have just killed themselves to try to comply. And so, Mike.
If you think about what we were talking about earlier, John, about Home Depot and the baseball field, how arbitrary the rules are. Mm-hmm. You go with the latest executive order, we can have exercise outside, 10 people, 10 feet apart. Yet there are other rules where it's 10 people, 6 feet apart. Yet then you can go to Home Depot, and it's based on the percentage of occupancy is what they're doing. When you see them counting people coming in and counting people going out, that's what they're doing. So the 10-person rule for them is thrown out the window. Mm-hmm. So you explain to me, because I have not found the answer, how the virus, I don't know, does the virus check itself at the door at Home Depot?
Mm-hmm.
Versus you being on the baseball field?
According to LeVar Stoney, it checks itself at the city limits of Richmond. COVID doesn't go into it will not go in or out of Richmond. As soon as it gets to that line, it just the whole thing is so asinine. Mike, let me just ask you something. Well, let me get to Jill, and then I want to get back to you about the car dealer friends you have. Jill, when does Northam's emergency powers expire? Does it ever expire, or can he just have these forever?
Well, as long as he believes that we're in an emergency, I mean, he can continue to issue executive orders and revise and amend them accordingly.
And nobody can stop his emergency status.
No.
He can just do that in perpetuity. So basically, the next governor could come in, claim an emergency, and for 4 years be the dictatorial, tyrannical monarch that they are.
Well, and layer that in with this the point you make, that observation is really astute, and that is really a virus doesn't know geographical boundaries or respect political subdivisions, and that's even harder for sort of our regional economy because, again, we've chosen winners and losers, and if there is a defensible public health reason, then that makes perfect sense. But if there's not, and it's just the politics of what seems popular or what one person believes to be true, and they think, well, gee, we should just extend this, another week, another 2 weeks, another month, until one person thinks until everybody's been tested, another person thinks until we have a vaccine. That is incredibly unhelpful. And we will look back on this time and see that we threw our small businesses into chaos. We forced some of them to close. Many of them will not be able to hang on another week or 2 weeks. And I don't know that everybody appreciates that. When people share their personal stories with me, it is heartbreaking because, they're down to not days anymore, but hours. Okay, I have a short amount of time and then I'm done. And, every day makes a difference. And so, that's why I plead with those, my fellow representatives, our mayors and our governor, to move as quickly as possible to get Virginia open.
You're a lawyer, Senator Vogel, and so's your husband, Alex. Can we do in Virginia what was done in Wisconsin? The people filed a lawsuit against the governor's executive powers, and the Constitution ruled that that it was unconstitutional, the Supreme Court of Wisconsin, and it just got stripped, and now Wisconsin's open. They can't shut it down. Bars opened the next day and just opened the doors. Can that happen in Virginia?
You can ask the Supreme Court to opine on anything. You can ask the Supreme Court to consider. Well, you may know already that in Culpeper, we've brought challenges, or I didn't, but others have, and those were thrown out, unfortunately. But certainly, the Supreme Court can opine on any matter related to authority, executive authority, legislative authority, and perhaps we'll get that decision. But I think that people have been so motivated to move forward that, and to the extent that people have brought litigation or filed challenges and they haven't succeeded, I think that in my case, I've always felt like, okay, we're a week or two away. Right. And we haven't been.
Right. We're a week or two away. But now, according to the Los Angeles mayor, it's never. He said never until there's a vaccine. That could be 2028. Or never, right? We have no vaccine for the common cold. We have no vaccine for the majority of flus that we have. Let's get back to Mike Forston. Mike, was interesting on the downtime we had on the news. You said that you talked to some car dealers in town that are friends of yours. What did they say?
Well, what they were looking at, it was a fun conversation. It was like, hey, if you're looking to buy a car, just hang tight. And I looked at him and I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, when the new lot comes in, the 2021s, he said there's going to be a tremendous amount of 20s still in the lot. And then with this downturn and people losing their jobs, there are also going to be a lot of cars that are going to be repoed.
Repossessed.
There are going to be an enormous amount of vehicles available to the public. And so the dealerships are sitting there saying, what are we going to do? And the only thing that they can do is they're going to be throwing some unbelievable numbers
to get them out.
To get them out the door.
Because they've got 20s.
Right. And the 21s are coming.
That were not purchased. 21s are coming and repos.
Right. And think about the timing. It's like the perfect storm. This is all going to happen late summer, as it always does, early fall. That's when the new lot of cars, new year, comes in. Mm-hmm. And about that time is when
the repos happen.
Yeah, and that's when you
90
start.
90 days, don't pay,
Right. You're going to start to really feel the pinch, and that's what's going to happen.
Right. So the message is, how do the car dealers survive financially?
Good question. I would think that those that have some deep pockets, they're going to take the burden on themselves. When we... Back on the 16th of March, when he gave his first order, if you remember, it was for 14 days, and it was to flatten the curve and don't let the system get overwhelmed. I came home, and my wife she was beside herself. I mean, absolutely. She lives, breathes, and this business. She truly loves her people, not only the people that work for her, but the members. And she's beside herself, and I said, look, it's 14 days. We can do this. Let's use the 14 days constructively. Let's paint. Let's spruce the place up. It'll be okay. I think it was a week later, Northam came in and said, no, that's not good enough. We're going to the 23rd, if I remember the dates right, of April. I came home that night, and she was bawling because... I was like, what happened? I'm coming home from work and she's bawling. My people, what Did you hear what he said? No, tell me. She tells me. Of course, the first thing, anger, right? But I'm looking at her, and she's saying to me, my people. And I said, honey, take it easy. Bottom line is, she was worried about the people that work for her, putting food on the table. And she's worried about not seeing her friends, her members, and taking care of them. And she truly believes she's taking care of them. And I said, well, on the front of the people, I said, if you're willing, I'm willing. I said, you can forget about retirement. You and I will not retire. We're making a commitment to those people, and we'll be working till the day that we die, because it's going to take some creative financing on my part to keep those people fed and keep those doors open. And she looked, without a moment, John, she was like, tears went away, we have a solution. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm not retiring. That was it. Now think about that.
But not everybody's in that position.
I realize that, but
but you guys were, and you absolutely did the right thing in your own minds, and thank you for doing that. But not everybody's in that position.
Absolutely.
So that's why we're seeing now storefronts with signs on them for rent and for sale, and people gone out of business, and it's such a terrible situation. But it's interesting what you said about your business and the fact that, because it went from 14 days from March, and then it was all of a sudden the 10th of June.
Yes.
And now we have no idea what he's going to do on June 10th.
He has kicked the can down the road every time.
All right, let me get to the phone lines here. I've got Belinda from Virginia Beach. Belinda, you're on the air. You're with Senator Jill Vogel and business owners and movers and shakers in Warrenton.
Well, thank you for having me, John. I appreciate being on your show. And I was just calling. I agree with you that we just need to go ahead and open up Virginia. We can no longer kick the can down the road. And all of these small business owners, I know the first phase is today, but we need to go and just say the hell with it.
Yes.
And we cannot go on anymore. Mayor Bobby Dyer has told the governor that he's open for business, but the governor's concerned about the boardwalk handrails and the cleanliness, so he will not open the beaches. Is that ridiculous? And we're not allowed, the citizens of Virginia Beach are not allowed to go to the beach and just sit in a chair. We need to be exercising or fishing. But if you're fishing, you may not have a chair to sit on.
Jesus. It's just,
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes, absolutely.
So I can fish on the ocean, but I can't sit in a chair to fish.
No, you cannot.
What if I had a wheelchair?
I don't know.
I mean, if I brought a wheelchair out, what could they say? I can't sit in a wheelchair? I mean, this is just madness. I mean, we just have to stop. I mean, telling you, look, I'm a law-abiding citizen, but these orders are not even constitutional. And I think it is time we just say we've had enough. America's had enough. We're going out. We're going back to work. And they can't put everybody in jail at once.
No, and the governor lives in Virginia Beach. He lives here. So we need a plan of action, and I have an idea. I was thinking that we need a plan of action on or before July 1st, and we set up everybody. You can have everybody, just restaurants, just, open.
Open.
Yes, and then I was thinking, too, Disney World is opening July 1st. We could have Busch Gardens open up July 1st. Williamsburg and Jamestown are closed. We need to get them open.
That is not going to happen, Belinda. I mean, it's a good idea, but these are public entities. They're not going to go against the word of the governor. And the problem with just opening a restaurant is the government has the power to strip you of your liquor license, which is a privilege.
Right.
And so that's what happened to the guy in Maine, right? The guy in Maine, the guy that owned the lobster shack for 40 years, was going out of business. He said, I'm just opening up. This is ridiculous. Nobody's sick. What did they do? They arrested him. Okay, so he can deal with that. They shut his business down, took his business license away, but here's what they did. They took his liquor license away, and he can't reapply for 10 years. He's 70. They took it away. Done. They have the power over your life, and they're willing to exercise it, as they did. They put that guy in Maine not only in jail, but they took his livelihood away, and now even if it's over, he can't go back because they took his liquor license. And in order to defend it, he's got to spend $100,000 on attorneys, which he doesn't have because he's broke. This is the power the government has now exerted over all of us. Jill?
Well, John, I'll just tell you that the people who've communicated with me who are super upset, and they're not even attempting to engage in civil disobedience. They're just obsessed with following the rules for the very reason you just pointed out. They're so afraid that if they do something wrong, they'll lose their license to operate. They're already about to lose their business. And the worst thing that they think can happen to them is that they open and somehow misapply the rule or don't follow the rule properly. And then
misinterpret it.
Yeah, misinterpret it. Or somebody comes in and they're one person over and they're so anxious about making sure that when phase one starts that they're doing the right thing so that they don't lose their license. Because a number of them have said, look, I am not going to break the rules. And nobody wants to be, it crossways with our local law enforcement. It puts our local law enforcement in an untenable position. They aren't wanting to be anti-business. These people give their lives for us and put their life on the line every day. Our sheriff and our local police department, they're killing themselves, and they certainly don't want to be, in a position where they are, having to be in enforcing rules that are impossible to enforce. Anyway, I just wanted to make that point because people are very concerned about losing their license.
Next weekend is Memorial Weekend, and we should be having parades. We are the land of the free and the home of the brave. So we need to get some fire in our bellies.
Well, as my wife said, the Fräulein the other day, she said maybe we should take that line out of the Star Spangled Banner because she said, what I've seen in the last 60 days, we're not free nor very brave right now. Right. So maybe we should just strip that out of the Star Spangled Banner because it's not an appropriate description of where this country is right now, Belinda. But I want to thank you for your call, and sorry for all those shop owners in Virginia Beach that are going to be bankrupt. And you just got to fight this thing, man. But you can't let these governors take your livelihood away, take your life away, and just sit around and do nothing. I mean, we've got to do what Chris has done. What's your name again?
Chris Concannon,
Chris Concannon, who started this Facebook page. He's got 900 members. He had a rally with 150 people. You got to give people an outlet. This Dr. Falsey is a fraud. The numbers don't make any sense. No beds are overrun. We're shipping ventilators to Spain. We got to get on, people. We got to get on with our life, and we got to do it now. John Fredericks Radio Network, thanks for being with us. I had a great week.